Good.
I will just mention one thing. One of our presenters, Nandini, is on her way quick home from school. So if we could give, I'm not sure exactly when we're on the agenda, but she'll be ready with our other two presenters in about 5 minutes.
Oh, that's not a problem. Typically, we have some business things at the front end and some announcements.
Okay, great.
I think Julie Brock's going to do a presentation, and we have a couple other things. So maybe you want to give me the high sign when she's available, so we know everybody's ready to go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome to our Rotary meeting, May 27th, 2021. I'm Christopher Colby, the current president of the Rochester Rotary Club. At least for the now the foreseeable month, and then Audrey will be taking over. So we're in the final month of my running the programs. To start off today, I will lead us in the four-way test. So what we do here is to get things started. I'll say the four-way. I'll say each line of the four-way test, and then please everyone repeat after me. So, I get my script so I don't get it messed up like Bill did. So, fellow Rotarians, of all the things we say or do, first, is it the truth?
First, is it the truth?
Second, is it fair to all concerned?
Second, is it fair to all concerned?
Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Guess we're never going to get that quite right, are we? But we got through it anyway. I believe that Audrey is going to do an inspiration. Audrey?
Hello, everybody. So in the last few days, a team of Rotarians, we've been looking at the survey data that you provided and participating in a visioning session with the district visioning team. So for the reflection today, thinking about visioning and strategy always brings me to Simon Sinek, who is one of my favorite authors about leadership. He wrote the book Start With Why, and he also wrote Leaders Eat Last. So I thought I would share a few of my favorite Simon Sinek quotes. And he's a British American author and inspirational speaker. I actually got a chance to hear him in person several years ago and was totally blown away. Anyway, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. If you have a gift, it is called a gift for a reason. You have to give it away. A team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. And working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. And I thought that was very appropriate for this group of Rotarians. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Audrey. Do we have, in addition to our program, and I see, Mary, that your other person, what's her name, Nandini, is signed on now, so she's online. In addition to our program people, which we'll introduce later, do we have any other visitors online here? I don't see any, but if you are a visitor, if you want to unmute and introduce yourself, that would be great. Okay, not seeing any, I guess we'll move on. Julie Brock has an update for us regarding the results of the member survey that was sent out recently. Julie?
Thanks, Chris. Yep, I'm going to pull it up. So I want to thank the membership for dealing with all of our many surveys that we've been sending out. We've had the visioning survey, we've had the small group survey, and now I'm sure we'll have more too. But when we do evaluation work, we want to make sure that we bring it back to those that we asked for input from. So that's what we're doing today, is I'm bringing back the input that you provided for the small group Thursday, the third Thursday pilot that we've been in. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. If you have questions, just throw them in the chat and I can answer those as well. So the purpose of the third Thursday was really to start to deepen relationships and build relationships during this time of Zoom meetings that we had. So that was really the purpose. And according to our survey response, which is pretty valid, our response rate is 45% of the membership, which is a really good response rate for a survey, which essentially says we can believe these results to be true. So we did, based on our results, we did meet that goal of getting to know Rotarians better. And a few people did indicate that re-engaging with Rotary, this was one way that they saw that having the ability to attend that way. And then so some of our other notes is having regular updates from the board was important. So that might be something that we want to incorporate going forward, and that the format allowed them to continue their consistent attendance. But then also some people thought that those groups were a little bit too small, and we did start seeing merging of groups as we go. So that gives us information for the restructuring. Most likely to attend third Thursday, we do have, this was pre-full vaccinations. And so we do have a split pretty much almost down the line of almost 45% saying they still like that virtual option, but with a 52 saying that they'd like to be in person, and with about 3.4% saying either way. And then moving on into having how we restructure the third Thursday going forward. There was quite a few people who indicated that they'd like to stay with a consistent group of people or be randomly assigned each Thursday, or having an option to choose a group. And you can see that this was a kind of choose whatever applies. But there's an idea of getting to stay with people for a little bit of time allows them to get to know people a little bit better. So other noted, maybe we be assigned to a topic for 3 Thursdays and then have it change after that. So there's some good thought going into that. Interested in, I thought it was really interesting that for the most part, we had a third split. People are really interested in a learning group in which we learn something that Rotarians are passionate about, or an affinity group. We all love gardening, so we all get together, or a rotating informal lunch where we get to know each other's organizations a little bit better. So others noted that, whatever we do, we want some action happening. Maybe some discussion groups around topics relevant to our club, like similar to a mini visioning session, so that we're constantly thinking about how we are impacting the world around us. And that there was, we'd like some unique opportunities for service and still making sure that we have that networking or that relationship building component to that. So what are the themes that came out of this? The groups were a little bit too small to maintain discussion, so we need to increase those groups going forward. Zoom helps with attendance, and so having some sort of hybrid model going forward will be important for our club. And that people really did enjoy the ability and opportunity to get to know people on a deeper level. However, we could do that with a little bit more structure on Thursdays. And then I just pulled out some great quotables for us to think about. Thank you for your innovative approach. This has truly re-engaged me in the club. I feel the most value in having deep, meaningful relationships from Rotary rather than knowing everyone. Appreciate your work on this. I applaud the team for taking the step of organizing the small groups. It's been a great experience. I believe my group feels more connected, both to each other and to Rotary. And then, a cautionary tale, despite having small group success, I think small groups are potentially contributing to the fraction and the division of interests and goals of the club. So this information did come forward into the visioning session as well as your April 29th information that came forward in the visioning session as well. So I just wanted to make sure that you had a collective picture of how the club's feeling about that third Thursday, and that the subgroup is taking that into consideration. Also, the last question asked for folks if they wanted to be part of the subgroup. Quite a few people signed up, but there was a few that signed up that I'm not sure that they signed up knowing that they were part of a planning committee. So if you are interested in being part of that planning committee going forward, please put your name in the chat and we will pull that list together as well. So I'll stop sharing, and if there's any questions, I will take them.
Okay, any questions for Julie on where we are there? I think the original intent was that the small groups was a sort of a trial balloon for 6 months, and of course June would be the 6th month I think that we've been trying it. So I would assume that we'll probably in some format probably want to continue this forward. I don't know, Audrey, you and I haven't talked about that, but I assume we'll keep going.
Yeah, so what the group met last Friday after our last session, or after the last third Thursday. And the plan is to keep in our same groups for the summer. And that will give the planning team time to come up with kicking off a variation for the fall. So that's the plan.
Okay. Well, very good. And so if you are interested in participating in this planning effort, put your name in the chat so that Julie can pick that off. Okay. As a reminder, I'm just going to kind of go through our schedule here. A reminder, our Rotary Club midday meetings, our Zoom meetings will continue on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month, at least for the foreseeable future. I would say that we are starting to give some consideration to possibly doing the hybrid meetings, resuming those at the end of the month. And we're still waiting for some input from our technology group and making sure that we can make something professional out of hybrid meetings at the country club. And so we'll be notifying you through Moccasin Flower, and you'll see notices about that. But I'm hopeful that we can start getting back together again. I think with the vaccinations and everything starting to open up a little bit, it's time to start moving that direction. So the after hours will continue on the 1st Thursday of each month, and again, that's probably going to become a more of a personal, actual physical meeting at a restaurant or a bar or something, instead of doing the after hours. We're still talking about how that works. We only have had a minimal number of people that have actually come to those Thursday after hours meetings. So, and then we talked about the small groups meetings continuing, and your convener will send you an invite on that. Bill Wichter and Elaine Case have an announcement regarding housing assistance for an incoming Mayo medical student. Bill, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, and actually Audrey Betcher is involved in this as well. What happened was the Monterey Club of Mexico contacted Don Sapala and had a Rotaract student in medical school who is going to be on an assignment in Rochester at the Mayo Clinic. And one of the things that they were hoping for is to have lodging for Edgar, the student, for the months of starting late August of this year through early August next year. Elaine from the Risers Club and myself and Audrey have decided that we were going to host Edgar for periods of time, but we're actually looking for a third person. It doesn't have to be necessarily a family, but another person, primarily a Rotarian, that would be able to host Edgar for 4 months, either in the winter or next year sometime. Edgar, we spoke with Edgar on the phone yesterday. He is an outstanding, enthusiastic individual. And when I say it's kind of like a youth exchange, but it is and isn't. It is in a sense that they will live in your house, But in all honesty, Edgar does not need any care in feeding in any way, shape, or form. Transportation, he'll be more than eager to take the bus. His days will be full of activity, partnering with Dr. Miller at the Mayo Clinic. And the kid is unbelievably enthusiastic and hardworking. He's a Rotaractor. He wants to help and join our clubs as much as he possibly can. And he is totally, totally responsible. It's not somebody that's going to be eating in your living room and leave dishes anywhere in the house. I'm really, really impressed with him. So if you have any inkling of hosting, a very, very responsible. He's 22 years old. Just let either Audrey or myself know as we're going to try to map out his schedule from August of this year until next. He's got to go through all the procedures of getting his visa approved. He'll have healthcare insurance and things of that sort. So he's really looking for housing availability. And like I said, I think he's outstanding. So the question is he going to be able to drive? The answer is no. I mean, he would have to buy his own or get his own rental car, which I think would be a little bit outrageous, to tell you the truth. So he will be probably, in all honesty, using the bus service to get to Mayo. And I'm sure if he makes friends at Mayo, they'll pick him up and do some social things. But it's not like the host family has to drive him to soccer practice or plays or things of that sort. He will be self-contained. Do you have anything to add, Audrey?
The only thing I'll add is that I'm pretty flexible on when he stays with me. So, if you've got some months that work or don't work, we'll work with you to put it all together.
All right, Bill and Audrey, is there any kind of a financial requirement here? Is he self-sufficient financially? So there's nothing involved there?
Yes, there's nothing on our part that we have to provide. Like with the youth exchange, we have to give them so much money for school lunches and provide cell phone and stuff. He will be self-contained. I guess if he eats too much at your house, he'll have a little money to pay for that. But in all honesty, he'll be self-contained for the entire 12 months.
Yeah, we did commit to that, like if I'm making dinner, I'll make dinner for him too. I mean, that's kind of what we've said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And so if you have interest in volunteering for that or helping out, contact Bill or Audrey, or I guess start with those two, Don Sapala, obviously, with the risers as well. So
Bill, is he a first-year medical student? And which Dr. Miller is he working with?
It's Dr. Miller in the neurological surgery department, and he's actually in his 5th year of med school in the State University in Monterrey, Mexico.
I think it's Kai Miller.
Okay, there's a lot there. So this is his last year, or maybe early residency even.
Yeah, I don't think it's residency, but I think it's his last year. Yeah, and Dr. Miller would know the exact details on that. What's really interesting is he looked for the #1 place medically in the world and found the Mayo Clinic, obviously, and decided that's where he wants to. So he's done all the interviews and things of that sort. I hate to go on, Chris, but I'm just enthusiastic about the kid. He really, really is good.
And it's a research position.
Yeah, it sounds like he's a real superstar in the field. So, and hopefully we can get him to join in on some of our meetings and sort of share his enthusiasm with us as well. So, good.
Yeah, Bill, I'm happy. Ash, I'm happy to give a backstage tour whenever he comes.
Sure, thank you. One other announcement I just wanted to reinforce. Earlier this month, our club's Community Foundation President Mark Benscotter and Board Member Josh Noser announced the first ever community impact grant from the foundation and from our club. Applications for this grant are due on June 10th, and it's written up in the moccasin flower if you want more detail on that. But a reminder, if you represent an organization or know an organization that's looking for a potential $5,000 grant for a project or some kind of a specific outcome, take a look at that and see if you can get that submitted. The moccasin flower indicates the submittals go to Mark Benscotter, and his email address is in moccasin flower. Now, let's see, what else here? Audrey, I had a couple of bullet points here. Do you want to give an update on filling our administrative position? Just a brief update.
Sure. So we extended an offer last night to the next club administrator. So this has to go to the board to formally be approved, but I suppose can I don't know, can I announce her name? I mean, can I do that?
Probably best not to until the board.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, we're very, very close.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're making a recommendation to the board, and hopefully that approval that happens, and then we can move on.
Yep. So the board meets next week. So hopefully we'll have announcements after that.
Exactly. Thank you. Are there any other announcements that anyone would like to make before we get into our program? I think, Mary, we're close to our program here, so that you know. But I wanted to give anybody else an opportunity to make any other announcements. Okay, hearing none. Melanie, would you like to do an introduction for the program?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I am pleased to introduce 3 young people who are involved in the Rochester Olmsted Youth Commission, which is a group that promotes intergenerational civic engagement and leadership opportunities for high school youth. So I'll tell you a little bit about Selma and Sarah, and then Nandini is also with us, and she'll have to introduce herself when she gets her chance. Selma is a junior at Century High School. She's been very active in human rights, sustainability, and mental health issues, has been appointed a youth commission co-chair beginning in the fall. She's also a member of the Minnesota Youth Council, which is a group established by the Minnesota legislature to ensure that youth voices are heard at the Capitol. She attended the National League of Cities Conference in Washington, D.C. to represent the young people in Rochester. And in March of this year, she was featured in Ms. Magazine in an article, 25 Under 25, Women of Color to Watch. So joining Selma, we have Sarah Strauss, who is a senior at John Marshall, counting down not just the days probably, but the hours here in her school experience. Sarah's headed off to college in the fall after 2 years on the Youth Commission, working on mental health and human rights issues. Most recently, she chaired the Voter Empowerment Committee last fall and worked on distributing voter registration information at all 3 high schools. And she worked with other community groups such as the NAACP to make information available in other locations for people of all ages. So, and Nandini, you'll have to introduce yourself when you have a chance. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for your presentation, and you ladies can take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Good morning or almost afternoon, everyone. As the introduction stated, my name is Salma, and next year will be my 3rd year serving on the Youth Commission.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is the last slide in the
Gotcha.
presentation.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let me go
That's
back.
okay.
Try again here. I
And
was
I can be
testing
introducing myself.
earlier to make sure that it was going to work. So
There you go.
There you
nope,
are.
it's not wanting to. Sorry about that.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, I can introduce myself. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. As you stated, my name is Sarah Strauss, and I will hand it over to Nandini.
Hi, I'm Nandini Iyer. I'm a freshman and I've served on youth commission for this is my first year. So the Olmsted County Board of Commissioners and the city of Rochester have partnered to support the youth commission for over 25 years. And our mission is to promote the value of civic engagement and offer leadership opportunities for younger people.
It's important to kind of keep in mind that we're not just a club for our 50+ members, and that our mission is to include any interested youth all in our community across all of our initiatives. Over the years, thousands of Rochester's young people have participated in our youth commission events, our opportunities, and our initiatives.
And today we're excited to update you on some of our work. We are a cross-section of Olmsted County teens representing the wonderful diversity of our culture and ethnicities in our community. Our membership includes students from JM, Mayo, Century, Byron High Schools, as well as STEM Academy. Every single one of us that's a part of the Youth Commission brings our own perspective and our own unique experiences, which makes every single one of our meetings very collaborative.
So the Youth Commission is an intergenerational group and our membership is currently at 58 members. 8 of our members are adults and we work with them as equal partners. We meet on the first Wednesday of every month and our projects and initiatives take place on evenings and weekends throughout the year. Our meetings generally include a speaker on the topic of interest in the community.
Over the years, the Youth Commission has kind of evolved into a dynamic organization that's powered by youth. Initially, the commission was an exclusive group of 16 youth and 16 adults with a rigorous application process. Today, our application process is kind of streamlined and our membership has expanded. Mary Gorfine is our program coordinator, and she helps us navigate politics, policies, and the networking that we need to tackle the issues that we care about.
Most of our work, as I previously said, is done in collaboration with a lot of different people, not just within Youth Commission, but also we partner with other community groups, many of them who reach out to us, realizing that youth participation is key to fostering the next generation of leaders. We have an executive committee that advises Mary, sets agendas, and discusses all requests for collaboration before making recommendations to the full commission. And we are beyond thankful for the City Council and the County Board who understand that decisions on our projects are made solely by youth commissioners. Next slide. Awesome. So one of the groups we really partner with and that I and Shika Kumar, who's also part of the Youth Commission, are both a part of is the Minnesota Youth Council. We have been active members of the Minnesota Youth Council for the past few years, and overall, many youth commissioners have served on the Minnesota Youth Council for over 8 years. This important statewide group was established by the Minnesota legislature to advise them on issues affecting children and teens. There's 36 of us that span across all 8 congressional districts and 4 at-large members. In 2020, I had the opportunity, and I still have this opportunity, to serve on the Governor's Children's Cabinet Advisory Council, where I really advise and advocate for youth as a member of this advisory council. And prior to the pandemic, we made at least one trip to the state capitol during each legislative session, attending committee meetings and connecting with our local and statewide representatives. However, many of us still have relationships with our state representatives and stay civically engaged. We also worked last fall to distribute voter registration information as well as information on how to vote early in person or absentee. We additionally partnered with the NAACP on their voter information drive as well. And many of our members volunteered last summer and fall on campaigns for local and statewide offices. Many years ago, this is how a lot of us really started being a part of the community and working on structural issues. We asked permission from the County Board of Commissioners to appoint young people as ex officio members of some county advisory boards. And while there is a pretty steep learning curve for most youth members, overall the experience has been invaluable for those who've served. Currently, we have youth representation on the Rochester Public Library Board of Directors, the Human Rights Commission, the Environmental Commission, the Public Health Advisory Board, and the Community Services Advisory Board. And I know Sarah can tell us, and I can also talk about how it has been a truly invigorating experience, learning and seeing how really things work hands-on is an amazing experience. Next slide.
So youth commissioners have a lot of passions, and in order to kind of make sure that we are advocating for the issues that are most important to youth commissioners, we have a couple of different committees. And one of these is our climate committee that kind of talks about clean energy, clean water, and advocates for climate sustainability. And I am a member of this committee. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the specific initiatives that we've kind of tackled in the past and currently. In spring 2017, we held a Clean Electricity Youth Summit in partnership with iMatter and the Rochester Public Library. iMatter is a youth-led nationwide initiative that promotes renewable and sustainable energy. In addition to high school students who participated, a representative of the Southern Minnesota Municipal Power Agency attended, as did Mark Kovichar, the general manager of Rochester Public Utilities. Later that summer, we met with Mr. Kovichar and Jeremy Sutton, who is the Director of Power Services at RPU, to discuss their planning process for energy needs. And when their contract with the Southern Minnesota Municipal Power Agency expires, we then created an online petition with over 1,000 signatures of teens and other people in our community who supported this effort. And we are thankful to the Rochester Public Utilities and the City of Rochester that decisions have been made to pivot to renewable energy by 2031. It's a huge initiative that we really cared a lot about. And as you can see, we took action and were able to really make this positive change in our community. The activities on the next slide are just a few of the ways that we have participated in Rochester planning opportunities brought to us by the city staff and community residents. So you can change to that one. Thank you. So we are partnering this year with the Rochester Public Works Environmental Services on the We Are Water exhibit this spring. And over the past years, we've worked with Megan Moeller on Rochester's transportation planning, and she's met with us several times for input into the strategic planning process. And I have had the privilege of being able to attend the We Are Water exhibits in several different places across Minnesota, and just the impact that having the general message that they have and how they tailor it to each community has just been so impactful for me, and being able to learn so much about just water in our communities and the role that it really plays has really meant a lot to me. And of course, to all of us. As we can see, it's raining quite hard out there. So kind of being able to understand the impact that that has and how we can make a difference. Kevin Bright, Rochester's DMC's Director of Sustainability, has been enormously generous with his time over the last few years, helping us kind of target our sustainability efforts. Most recently, last fall, he and Lauren Jensen met with us for input on Rochester's sustainability plan, and they're due to meet with us again in March or April, and I think that might have been kind of mixed up because of all of the COVID precautions and kind of planning things. We know that their schedules have been very busy, so we're looking forward to planning something with them in the future for an update. And Salma, who is here, is serving as a youth representative on that sustainability planning committee. And so I'm sure she'll talk a little bit more about that later. We're also partnering with Climate Generation, a youth-led advocacy group promoting environmental responsibility and sustainability, which was created by our own Minnesota Polar Explorer, Will Steger. And the goals are to promote and prioritize strategies addressing climate change. And prior to the pandemic, youth commissioners partnered with other concerned students across our community locally to organize climate strikes and marches. the Rochester League of Women Voters has requested our participation in community education efforts on the roles of local, state, and national government. And people of all ages kind of struggle with the roles of these entities. And I had the privilege of being allowed to present on the role that Youth Commission plays, and specifically my role as a youth representative on the Rochester Public Library Board, and really the impact that being able to have that firsthand experience of how I served on the city call that the League of Women Voters had. And so kind of explaining how my role as a member of Youth Commission kind of combined with my role on Youth Commission really gave me such a great insight into how the city functions and what I can do to really make sure that my ideas are being heard and that I'm able to be a productive member of our community, especially with city governance. And we will continue to work with the League as documents are created and dispersed on those issues. And you can now move to the next slide. For many years, Youth Commission has partnered with the Rochester City Forester and Our Neighbors to recruit teens for twice yearly boulevard tree plantings. The pandemic has put those events on hold, but we are eager to begin again, hopefully later in 2021. And over this 10-year partnership, there have been at least 3,000 teens who learned about the importance of a healthy urban canopy. In Rochester, I am proud to say that we have just so much beautiful green space. And I think in a lot of different cities and different areas of the country, you're not really able to be so close to that as you are in Rochester. So that's something that I've really enjoyed learning more about, and just driving through Rochester, it makes it so much more beautiful. And especially in this springtime with all the flowers blooming, just makes it such an enjoyable place to be, and healthier for not only our environment, but ourselves. So we've also worked at Indian Heights Park, and that began about 5 years ago as part of a Minnesota Legacy Grant, which was awarded to the Indian Heights neighborhood in partnership with Parks and Recreation. And we continue to work at the park to eradicate garlic mustard and buckthorn so that the park can be returned to its native prairie state. And we're also educated about the history of this park and the religious significance of the park to the Dakota people whose land we are on, and who that was a very important sacred site of. And that's something that I was able to participate in. And I found it really enjoyable to go to this place that I had never really been before. It's a park that I personally hadn't attended. And so to be able to go and learn about another beautiful natural place in Rochester, while also helping to make sure that it is staying healthy and kind of restoring it to the native habitat and getting rid of the invasive species there, was something that I found really meaningful, and a really beautiful physical way to help my community, as well as the advocacy efforts that we are working on. And I think now you can move on to the next slide.
So some of you guys might have heard of the Rochester Community Initiative. And in fact, members of the Youth Commission are among the founding members of the Rochester Community Initiative, and we partner with them on many projects. The purpose of RCI is to make our community a more just and equitable place for all of its residents through events and programs, fundraisers, and other charitable activities. And many of Youth Commission's initiatives overlap with RCI goals, and we are proud of all that we have accomplished. I have the privilege of being on RCI, and seeing the work we do as a youth-led initiative is truly inspiring. In fact, we'll be hosting a 5K this Saturday, where half the proceeds will be going to environmental organizations. RCI was created in response to the murder of George Floyd and the national unrest that followed. And Youth Commission decided to take action, and we hosted a presentation last September by Dr. Brian Lazinski from Macalester University on institutional racism, particularly its impact on public education. During that presentation, many of us learned about things we previously didn't know, things we didn't know about our own state. You know, a lot of young people, a lot of people who don't really understand or know about the history of Minnesota did not know that there's a huge history of redlining here in our state. So he talked about that and really dug deeper into institutional racism. Community Education partnered with us and provided a grant to help with expenses. And we had over 100 youth and adults attend the virtual presentation. And Thanks to the City Council, we have participated in other things such as the National League of Cities Congressional City Conference in Washington, D.C. for 5 years. This year, the conference was virtual and we had over 10 youth commissioners who attended. The conference has been life-changing for some and an invaluable learning opportunity to meet and interact with youth and elected officials from all across the country. I had the opportunity to attend back in 2020, right before the pandemic shut everything down. And truly the experience I had talking to mayors and city council members from all across the country and digging deeper into issues that affected all of our communities was amazing, because I, as a youth member, had the opportunity to hear adults really listening to what I had to say. And I think that is so important. This year, Mary Gorfine was invited by the NLC to facilitate a meeting with adults who coordinate youth commissions or councils in their communities. Because when I went, I remember hearing from all these young people and who are also on youth commissions, and Rochester Olmsted County Youth Commission is really one of the more successful ones I've heard of. And we are so thankful to have had this opportunity to discuss and attend workshops that offer topics that impact local governments and teens. Next slide.
Youth commissioners have long worked to raise awareness of the need for the access to mental health services for people of all ages. Another committee we have that is part of the Youth Commission is the Mental Health Committee, which I am a part of. So our goals have been to strengthen the mental health curriculum in schools and increase student access to mental health professionals. The progress has been slow, and the isolation we experience from the pandemic has made mental wellness even more important than ever. So one project we had was Stories of Stigma and Strength, which was created by the Youth Commissioner Otis Bagra. The stories of people who have overcome significant and stigmatized challenges are told in ways that are guaranteed to change your life. Local businessman Joe Powers is featured in one of his stories and donated his facility, the Stone Barn, to host a grand opening of his exhibit last fall. So another thing we did was last spring, we successfully lobbied Rochester Public Schools Board of Education to ensure gender-neutral restrooms in all new schools. And also, conversion therapy is a threat to mental wellness, and youth commissioners will be advocating for a statewide ban. We are very thankful that the city and county passed resolutions that support this effort. Be Well COVID was also initiated by Youth Commissioner Otis Bagra, but is now Youth Commission driven. The purpose is to gain support and comfort from resources and information aimed at promoting mental wellness during this difficult pandemic. It is helpful for people of all ages to do yourself a favor and check it out. It's both on Instagram and Facebook. Next slide. So in 2020, Youth Commissioner Jinglin Lee created a program to recruit teen volunteers in an online tutoring program for struggling students. Youth Commission is an active participant in this outstanding services, and Jinglin has partnered with the Rochester Public Library and with Winona State University to advertise the program and provide training for volunteers. I am one of the tutors who tutors and living room tutors. And also last spring, Mayo Clinic healthcare professionals invited Youth Commission to join them in forming a youth task force as part of the Rochester Health Community Partnership. The purpose is to assist with messaging into the newcomer community, particularly teens, around COVID. An Instagram account was created to connect youth and the newcomer community with accurate and important information on masking, wellness, vaccines, and other COVID-related topics. We have also partnered on a Mayo Clinic study to find ways to support pediatric patients at Mayo Clinic who have been impacted by discrimination based on ethnicity and weight. This has been a good fit with our mental health work over the years. Jinglin also created the Rochester, Minnesota Youth Resources site where important information on community services is available to teens. Jinglen is also working with the Youth Commission Mental Health Committee to establish a Facebook site for teens who need opportunities to connect with others who need support, as well as professionals who can offer services. Partners include Family Services of Rochester, Zumbro Health Center, Olmsted County Public Health, and others. Next slide. We have also worked on the issue of homeless youth and for over 7 years, and we will continue our advocacy on this important need. So 75% of homeless teens drop out of high school, and on average, one student out of every classroom of 30 in Rochester is homeless or at high risk of homelessness. Research clearly illustrates that stable, safe housing is critical to the academic and social success of children and teens. This picture shows youth commissioners at the entrance to Barlow's Hy-Vee greeting shoppers when they arrive. If customers are willing, we will offer them a list of non-perishable food and hygiene items that they can purchase along with the regular shopping. Customers drop off their donations at a table and after they check out. Hy-Vee Barlow's has generously partnered with us on this annual project, and we have collected over $35,000 in donations over the past 6 years. We are extremely grateful. Next slide. Youth Commission also partnered late last winter with the Minnesota Youth Council on a forum that discussed the importance of youth engagement, as well as ways that young people can have a voice in their communities. 3 high school students and 1 adult advocate were featured. The event was well attended in spite of weather challenges that resulted in a delay. Many of you might have undoubtedly heard about the ladder of youth involvement, and young people recognize attempts by some adults to use the concept of youth engagement to promote their own agendas. Inviting us to participate in order to manipulate perceptions of youth involvement, decorate advisory boards, or tokenize our ideas and opinions is worse than not including us at all. Thankfully, both the county board and city council understand that a youth voice on issues that matter not only to young people, but to people of all ages is important to community decision making. We see ourselves at the top of this ladder, and for that we thank you. Next slide.
Youth Commission has also partnered with lots of other projects other than the ones that we've already talked about, and specifically to address needs that we see in our community, like with all of those. Children without access to out-of-school enrichment do better, or with access to out-of-school enrichment do better academically, socially, and emotionally. And we know that many children in our community do not have access to those advantages. Ticks for Kids was established to try and fill some of those gaps through the generosity of statewide and local organizations. Pre-pandemic, Mayo Clinic and other organizations in our community donated tickets to us for local theater, Twins baseball, and Minneapolis Institute of Art special exhibits, and tickets to the Science Museum in St. Paul. These tickets were made available to alternative education programs in Rochester, as well as to low-income families who would be unlikely to have these opportunities otherwise. Youth Commission also initiated Art in the Sky in 1995 to provide a space for area art students to display their work in Rochester's downtown Skyway. The city of Rochester built the cabinets, and the exhibit is located between the Doubletree Hotel and the Civic Center parking ramp. You may have seen it as you're walking past, and this is just a great opportunity for local students to be celebrated in their artistic endeavors, and to also make sure that the art that we see is kind of representing our community. So it's not just from one place or one subset of students who enjoy art, but really representative of the students that we have in our school system. And every time I know that I go past it, it's really fun to just look at what people are creating and the types of opportunities that are available through both Art in the Sky and Ticks for Kids are projects that have really made me extremely proud to be a part of the Youth Commission community and able to really take action on the projects that I care about. And like Nandini was saying earlier with that ladder, being able to be seen as equitable and being able to truly make a difference in our community is something that I think is what really makes Youth Commission special and unique from a lot of other volunteering and youth organizations that I've personally been a part of. So that's just something that I found extremely meaningful on Youth Commission. And if you could move to the next slide, that would be great.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for reaching the end of our presentation. I really just want to end this right now with reading this quote by Michaela Wright, who's a youth voice organizer at SOAR. To be a community leader means remembering that leadership does not mean being charismatic or the loudest person in the room. It means lifting those around you and remembering why you speak. That quote, every single time Mary sends us an email, it's at the bottom of her email. And it always reminds us of why we do this work, why so many of us put our heart and passion into this. And it's because it matters, because the work we're doing is revolutionizing our world. Youth commissioners and the teens whose lives we have touched have gone on to serve their communities locally and around the world in education, healthcare, business, and government service. Former youth commissioners like Chris Schmitter, who serves as the chief of staff to the Minnesota Governor Walz. Heather Corson, who is the City of Rochester's legislative policy analyst, and Jenna Bowman, who is the City of Rochester's communication and engagement manager, are living their commitment to service right here at our home. So many youth commissioners, so many people come and go, and every single one of them, every single one of us does something amazing, does something that truly transforms someone's life. So thank you guys for your encouragement and support, because every single one of us, every single community member who has supported us has made this all possible. Thank you. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us.
What I might do here, we can throw this open for questions. We're pushing up against our time limit, but I wanted to throw this back because we didn't have a chance to introduce Mary, who must tear her hair out trying to keep these three and the whole crew under control. But Mary, you want to give a little bit of sort of overview of how you manage to keep things going with these guys?
I don't need to take very much time. I honestly don't manage this group. They manage themselves. It has been the privilege of my life, really, to work with these young people. They give me hope that there will be a better world ahead of us. Their leadership, I think, they are leaders now. They're not just leaders for tomorrow. They are leaders in our community right now, today. And I am actually in awe of them. And I can't tell you how thankful I am that I have been able to work with them for these 20 years.
That's well said. And I think I certainly go on, tie into that I'm sure all of us in our own ways are very, very proud of this, these three and who they represent in our community. Yeah. And I'm really hopeful that in the future that you become active in the community as you are now, as you get into your adult lives and your professions and whatever, and that you don't leave Rochester if possible. If you can try to come, or at least come back here after you've gone to school, if that's the case, and plug back into our community and be an important part of it. So I'll throw this open for questions. I don't have a lot of them in the chat room other than congratulations on a good presentation. If anyone would like to unmic and just ask a question, that would be great. If you want to try to keep it brief here. Do we have any takers on that? Does not appear that there are any questions. I guess you guys have kind of left a lot, said a lot of stuff about all the different activities you're involved with. I guess I would just leave it that it's pretty impressive, and I hope you keep up the good work. So So I think we'll close down for today. I want to again thank our presentation here from the Youth Commission and these three young ladies, Nandini, Sarah, and Salma, and Mary. Thank you for bringing them along. As we close out our meeting today, I wanted to give thanks to all those who joined us today, and especially to Audrey Betcher for the words of inspiration, and Melanie Tashida for coordinating and introducing the program today. A great many thanks to the board members that are working behind the scenes. There's a lot of activity right now behind the scenes, closing out the Rotary year and getting ready for next year. So watch for more information about future meetings. Like I mentioned, hopefully we can get back to a more hybrid type of arrangement so we can have face-to-face meetings and also be able to continue Zoom meetings for those of us or those of you who would prefer to continue that venue. And certainly, again, congratulations and good luck to the Youth Commission for the work they're doing in the community. It's a terrific group. So as we adjourn and go and serve, and remember that Rotary opens opportunities in our community and in the world. So thank you all and have a great Memorial Day weekend. We are adjourned.